Hello. This year I've definitely bought fewer art and craft materials and spent more time reviewing materials that I already own, but I do actually have an art haul for you today. So first of all, I'll open everything up and then I'll go through the things in a little bit more detail. This is an order from Art Discount, which I think is also known as Granthams Limited. Following on from my last video, where I was using a Strathmore toned tan pad, and I painted this gouache painting. I've been fancying painting on beige paper for a while, but the paper in this pad is a little bit too thin. And you can see it's kind of crumpled up the paper quite a bit. So I thought I'd try a couple of different beige toned sketchbooks. And this is one of them. It's the Hahnemühle 200 grams per square metre A5 pad. So the paper in the toned tan pad is 118 grams. So the 200 grams I'm hoping will be a lot more robust for gouache and watercolour. That's quite nice. And just to show you a comparison of the colour paper though, the Hahnemühle is quite yellow, and that's more like craft paper colour. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that out with gouache. And then, okay. So I've bought some acrylic paints, and these were colours which I used on my recent art course in St Ives. So these were the types of paintings that I was doing while I was there. And I really enjoyed using the golden artist's acrylics. But this particular powder blue from Winsor & Newton I liked as well. I was able to bring a couple of the other paints from the course home with me, though I've pretty much finished off the light phthalo green. But I'll swatch these out later. I don't remember what's in here. Oh yeah, so I bought some replacement Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. These are all colours that I use a lot of in landscapes and in adding details on top of like other mediums like watercolours. So while I was putting another order in and could get free shipping, I added these ones. Then next up I've got these two craft paper punches, and I've got two sizes of squares for a very specific purpose. So it's got a slide on the back to catch the punched pieces. Quite a few years ago now I used to do a lot of quilting, and I absolutely loved it, and I've still got a few quilts on the go. And I just like the idea of doing some quilting but with paper. So let's try these out. So you get the kind of idea. I think when I'm in a certain kind of mood, I just want to do really precise but kind of turn your brain off type of crafts or art. I just like the idea of being able to do quilting with paper, like quite brightly coloured papers, but also making some of my own papers by painting them or gel plate printing them. I've got a couple of things from Amazon as well. I've got a metal-sided ruler so that I can use it with my craft knife. I want to make some stencils and things for gel plate printing, and it's just handy to have a ruler that I can use with my craft knife, which won't cut into the plastic. And then also for gel plate printing, I spotted this stencil and I just really like the pattern of it. It's kind of like the movement of water, so I think that'll be fun to have a play around with. And then I spotted this book by Emma Block. I've got another one of her books on gouache, and I think this is quite new out, Keeping a Creative Sketchbook. So first of all, get the gorgeous paper. I just am really into sketchbooks and I love seeing other people's. And I just thought there'd be some nice inspiration in here. I think as well so she interviews different people who keep sketchbooks. And so it's not just her work in this book. And there's work from a few different artists. Emma Carlisle's in there as well, whose work I really like. Yep, that looks lovely. And then I have some things from Jackson's art as well, which I'm very excited about. So I have been wanting to have these for so long and they haven't been available in England. I could have ordered them from the company Portable Painter, which I think is based in America, but it was so hideously expensive, like the shipping. So I saw that Jackson's now sell them, and although they're still very expensive for what they are, I was so excited to get them. So here's my Portable Painter palette. It hasn't got any paints in at the moment since I did my big palette overhaul. But the idea with these is that you can use the little paintbrush space for extra watercolour pans. So there's some large ones and then there's some little double ones as well. So you can have 6 extra colours in there. So I'm going to very much enjoy filling that up at some point. And then I've got another golden acrylic. These were cheaper from Art Discount, where I got the other paints from, but they didn't stock this colour, so I got it from Jackson's. So this is the Titan Pale Green, which, well, I can't show you the whole painting, but the painting I did recently, it's the Titan Pale Green that's all of this sky colour. And so I wanted to get some so that I can carry on with these paintings and try and finish some of them off using the same colours. I can't remember what's in here. Oh, okay, yeah. So these are alcohol inks, Jackson's own brand, and I use these for doing kind of seascape alcohol ink paintings. I've just about run out of the silver and I thought I'd give their gold a go because the silver's been really good. And then I thought I'd try their turquoise. I usually use the Ranger Tim Holtz alcohol inks, but the Jacksons seem to be really good as well and they're a lot cheaper. So this is the state of my old silver one. But yeah, I like it quite a lot. And then something I'm incredibly excited about. I've bought a few more R&F pigment sticks. So these are like oil paints but in stick form, and they act in a very similar way to oil paint. They take quite a while to dry. You've got a good working time with them. And these are just like butter to use. They're so soft and gorgeous. I had a set of more earthy colours for my birthday at the beginning of May, but I think I was inspired by the pastel-y tones of Alex Yarlett's course that I went on, doing these kind of landscapey colours. And so I wanted to try them with these oil sticks as well, these pigment sticks. So the Dianthus Pink, Phthalo Green Pale, Ultramarine Blue Pale, and Cerulean Extra Pale. So I'll swatch all of these things out in a little bit. And I was talking about doing sketching on toned paper or doing gouache paintings. And this was another book which I've seen around and seems to be quite highly recommended. And that's the Stillman & Byrne Nova series. So this paper is 150 grams per metre squared. So not as thick as the Hahnemuhle sketchbook that we looked at earlier, which is 200, but it's still thicker than the 118 grams per square metre of the Strathmore. Yeah, it definitely feels more robust. So this one's quite smooth. Let's take a look at them all in comparison. So the Strathmore and the Stillman & Byrne are quite smooth and similar in colour, though the Stillman & Byrne's noticeably thicker. And there's the Hahnemuhle, which is much more yellow and has got a little bit more texture. It doesn't feel as textured as cold pressed watercolour paper, but definitely not as smooth as these two. But I thought it would be nice to have the variety of the two, both in size and weight of paper. Then I also have this book, Australian Abstract, and it's compiled by Amber Cresswell Bell. And I saw Sandy Hester showing this book on her YouTube channel and was just really drawn to it. I'd say that it's kind of even more abstract and out there than I'm normally drawn to, but there's also something about it which really fascinates me. I mean, some of it looks very simplistic, but I just really want to study this book. I don't want to copy it necessarily, but I feel like there's something I can get from it, or something that I can learn from it, which will help me unlock where I want to go next with my art. I mean, it might just be the looseness that's in all of these paintings. It might be that I'm attracted to. It's just the sheer use of colour as well. I just find it deeply attractive. So yes, Australian Abstract by Amber Cresswell Bell. And then the final thing that I have is this pack of Mont Premium Extra Soft Oil Pastels. And it's fair to say that I don't need any more oil pastels, but I absolutely love them. And a viewer had recommended this brand, and they do a whole variety of different pack sizes, and they're all really good value. So curiosity got the better of me, and I did order this pack of 120. So those are all the colours inside the lid. I did take a close look at all of the colours in the different sized packs, and I went for the largest pack just because there were so many colours which I was particularly drawn to in this one, which weren't in any of the others. I really like the range of greens and also some of the really pale shades. I don't have a lot of those colours across all of the other oil pastel sets that I've got. So I think I'm just going to swatch some of these out now and take a look at what consistency they are and how they compare with some of my other oil pastels. And I'll just grab this tan toned pad to do it on. So the colours that I'm always drawn to, I'm always interested in the white. Let's see. So they're quite soft. I'm not sure how pigmented they are. But they're very smooth, and I'm not getting tons of gunky bits coming off them like some brands do. That seems quite opaque. Let's see what else. A nice sky blue. So there's a bit of variation in opacity between them. And this will probably be my most used colour, this dark olive. I tend to use it, something like that, all the time in landscapes. Let's try the gold. So the ones I thought they might be most like are these Gallery Artists soft oil pastels, and probably price wise as well, they're quite comparable. I might just put a scribble next to them. Okay, so the Mungio are a little bit harder to use, though these are still a lovely smooth consistency. But the Mungio do seem to be like thicker and more pigmented. It's not the same colour, but whoops, I got some red in there. sorry, that's not a very good comparison. It's much brighter. So I'd say they're definitely not as pigmented. You can probably see it best here in the white. Definitely not as pigmented as the Mungyo, but more kind of, I think, like slippery, more kind of waxy than the Mungyo. I'll just get out my Paul Rubens Hires. So I'm just comparing the Mont with the Hire. Yeah, so they're more similar in how hard they are. Kind of a similar, well, softness. Yeah, so they seem to be a pretty decent set of oil pastels. Some of the colours, obviously I've not swatched out the whole pack yet. Some of the colours definitely aren't as pigmented as my other sets of oil pastels, but the opacity of them does seem to vary a bit. Like this orange and this blue are pretty good. That green's pretty good, and then some of the more pastel-y colours. See, that white isn't very opaque at all there. Yeah, so maybe the paler colours are less opaque. Let me show you the other tray again. I'm really pleased with this colour range. I would say that the Hires are my favourite oil pastels overall, but I'm missing quite a lot of colours. There's no lilac colours at all, there's no pale blues, there's no really good dark greens, and there's not many kind of dusky colours. There's just these two, you know, these 2 or 3 kind of duskier colours. Whereas there's quite a few nice ones in this set. I guess just more natural looking colours. And some nice lilac-y, pale violet colours. So yeah, I'll enjoy experimenting with those. I'll show you as well these pigment sticks. So these are, without doubt, the messiest art material I've ever used in my life. Because these are basically just oil paint, they do dry, and so they form a skin over them. So actually this one is obviously quite a new one and hasn't had time to form a skin yet. But in some ways they're a lot like oil pastels in that you've got this kind of the freedom of stick form. But whereas the oil pastels won't ever really dry out, these pigment sticks do dry completely and go completely hard in the same way that oil paint does. And these blend like an absolute dream. Plus as well, they have pigment information and light fast information. Which, by the way, we don't have with the Mont oil pastels. So, oh, this is a colour I've been looking forwards to getting. Let's see if there's a skin on it. Nope. I've got some other brand oil sticks, so I've got the Sennelier ones and some older Winsor & Newton ones, but the R&F by far have got the softest consistency and are the kind of most joyful to use. And you can work them with a brush. You can work them in the same way that you can oil paint. I mean, they just blend so beautifully. They're just such a joy. And I'm going to make a mess with this, but you can pick it off the sticks as well. And I've got some Gamsol here. Sorry, I'm totally using the wrong paper, but just to give you the idea, they dissolve in Gamsol and other solvents in the same way that oil pastels do. Sorry, in the same way that oil paints do as well. Now, actually, that's an interesting test. I've never used solvent on oil pastels before. Okay, so sorry, this isn't the best paper to be showing you it on, but the oil pastels blend out very nicely with the Gamsol solvent. Right, I'll just show you the colours again. Honestly, other people seem to end up with the most pretty swatch sheets, and mine always look like a complete disaster area. Nope, no skin on that one either. That's nice. These do have that very faint oil paint smell, but it's not too strong or overpowering. So that was the ultramarine blue pale, and then the other one I have is the cerulean extra pale. So I'll just show you the information that they come with. So basically it's pigment with linseed oil and natural waxes, and it's the wax that holds it in stick form. You get your pigment information, PB36, PW6, PW4. It's opaque, a series. And I think you can find Lightfast information on R&F's website, and they've got quite a lot of information on there. So yes, I'm very happy to have those colours. And while I'm here, I'll just swatch out the new acrylic paints that I got. So the Titan Green Pale. That's a lovely opaque one. The golden acrylics, they have the black lines on there, so you can kind of see at a glance how opaque they are. And they've got the light fastness on there. And then the Titan Mars Pale. And then this wonderful light phthalo green. And then I've got this Winsor & Newton Galleria Acrylic Powder Blue. Which is basically ultramarine light. Or ultramarine mixed with white, I should say. Actually, do these have pigment information on them? Because it's probably PB29. Oh yeah, PB29 and PW6, so ultramarine and white. So the Galleria is a cheaper paint than the golden and probably a bit less pigmented. But they're still nice paints to use. And then I'll just swatch out the other two colours which I used on my recent course. So that's light ultramarine blue, which I'm assuming is PB29, and it's PW6 again, so same pigments, just a higher proportion of the blue. And then there's this light magenta, which is PR122, PO73 and PW6. So a reddy orange mix with white. So these colours across here, along with navy, was pretty much the entire colour scheme for my course with Alex Yarlett, which I did a video on not long ago. And then I've got my Caran d'Ache pencils, which don't really match with this page at all. I've got Payne's Grey, I've got dark sap green, I've got olive brown, moss green, and olive yellow. So like I say, they're some of my most frequent landscape colours. I'll probably do a whole separate video on a more in-depth comparison between the different beige toned sketchbooks and papers that I've got. And also I'm itching to do an oil pastel picture with the new Mont oil pastels. So thanks ever so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed seeing this rather random assortment of art materials. Bye!